Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm not being bothered with an intro today, I'm just going to go straight into it. Today I am going to be flipping through and showing you in detail all of my Year 12 ATAR English notes. There's already videos up on my channel flipping through my chemistry and economics ATAR notes, and in the next couple of videos I'm going to flip through my maths methods and maths specialist notes. But this video is on English, which is the subject that most people do of any of the other subjects, if you know what I mean, because everyone has to do English and many more people do English than lit, so this is like a very common subject. Anyway, so hopefully you find it useful. So here we have my lovely cover page for English. And then we flip over and basically, so this was just like a little random page. Okay, so basically the order of my notes, the first section is like the comprehending section, and then it's the responding, and then it's the composing. So this first section of notes that I'm going to show you are my notes for comprehending. So here this was what I wrote at the very start of the year. We actually had to do this for homework after our first lesson, I think. We just had to like write down the definition of language features and text structures and then examples of each of them. So I just put that there. I don't know why there's like nothing here. I think there's supposed to be something here. Oh well, continuing on, then we have these little kind of mind maps I made, and basically what I did here, as you can see, is I just wrote language features on one and text structures on the other, and then I wrote all of the examples that I could possibly think of that are language features or text structures, and I kept these in here the whole year, and throughout the year I would just add to them every time I found a new text feature or text structure or language feature. And basically I tried to memorize most of these before my exam, so I had like a kind of dictionary of language features and text structures in my head that I could like pick and choose between in the exam. So if a question in the comprehending section asks about, you know, how do language features help create voice, you know, I have all these language features in my mind because I've like memorized them all, and I can just like pick and choose which ones fit the paragraph. And when I'm annotating the texts in an exam and I'm looking for language features, I can just like, you know, it's just useful to have a kind of vocabulary of them. So that's what I did here, and like I said, I just kept them here and was adding to them throughout the year. And then I also had one for narrative devices, so I did the exact same thing with narrative devices, and I just tried to make it visually interesting because I was trying to memorize these, and using color, I'm pretty sure, is scientifically proven to help you like memorize and remember things better. And here I did this exact same thing for words that you can use to describe your response or mood, because often it might say like, how do language features construct mood or something, and often I would have like heaps of words that I could use to describe language features, but I didn't know how to describe the mood, because like what words can you use to describe the mood? Well, there's your answer, you can use those words. So yeah, I just put some words there that you can use to describe mood, and also to describe your response, like it can be intrigued or like active or shocked or confused or whatever, because I just can never think of words to describe those things. So there you go. Okay, so then here, this is like an A3 thing that we had to do in class one time. It's just like a very similar mind map on visual language devices. So we did that in class, and I just stuck it in here because like it's part of, it needs to be part of my notes. So it's just exactly the same thing as the other ones, all the different visual language devices you could possibly use to describe an image. Alright, so now we're moving on to responding. So my responding notes are obviously specific to the texts that I studied. Just for your interest, I studied American Animals, which is a feature film. Then I studied The Girl with All the Gifts, which is a novel, and I also studied Blue, which is like an environmental documentary. So here and I also studied The Heist for like, we studied The Heist, which is this really, really like short 4-page kind of story thing. We studied it for like 2 lessons, and then our teacher said we could write on it in the exam, and I was like, I've literally like, we literally did it for 2 lessons, and we did all the other ones for like a bit longer. Anyway, so we did study that, and so The Heist and American Animals are both in the like kind of heist genre. They're both about heists. So, oh my gosh, I'm sweating. Okay, I need to, it's so hot in here, but like I can't turn the aircon on or open the window because it's too loud. I'm literally sweating. Oh my gosh, okay. I need to like have a break. Hang on. Alright, I am back. So basically what I was doing here is I had like themes and ideas that were common amongst both texts. And then, so basically like this is for if I got a comparing question in responding, I would be able to compare the heist and American Animals because they're of the same genre. And often like, or sometimes you can get responding questions and it says, for example, compare the way two texts of the same genre have done this or have represented this theme or whatever. And so I could compare these two texts of the same genre, and these are some themes that are common to both of them, and then I wrote examples and how I would explain the examples in my exam. So I think what's important to do in your English notes when you're writing examples is also write how you're going to explain the examples, because that makes it so much easier in your exam if you've already thought about how you're going to explain the example, rather than just writing an example down and then memorizing it, and then it comes to the exam and you've got your example but you don't know what to say about it. So I always write down exactly how I'm going to explain my example. So that's what I did here. I was just doing that. And then here, this is, by the way, this is the first time I've looked at my notes for like 4 months. So I'm just, okay, compare. Oh, okay, so then what I was doing here was doing essay plans, comparing American Animals and the heist. So see, compare how two texts have manipulated conventions to reflect different perspectives. So I just did an essay plan, and this is what I was talking about in paragraph 1, paragraph 2, and paragraph 3, and this was like my planning for that essay plan. And then here's another essay plan, and I did some like rough stuff, and then this is what I'm talking about in paragraph 1, 2, and 3. So I think essay plans are probably one of the best things you can do to prepare for the responding section, because in the responding section you obviously have to write an essay, and writing essays takes time, but writing essay plans takes far less time. So you can kind of get all your ideas down on an essay plan, and then you can do like 6 essay plans in the time it would take you to write 1 essay. So you can like cover a much broader range of like questions that might come up if you do essay plans rather than just writing like heaps and heaps of essays. But definitely do also write some essays so you get practice of like being able to write essays. Okay, so then I moved on to like, this is still the responding section, but it's the text Blue that I studied. And when we watched Blue, one of the things that we focused on was perspective. So I've done like here just like notes on the different perspectives and examples to show each of those perspectives, and that's the same on the back there. And then I also wrote notes on Blue in like looking at purpose, controversy, and context, because these were just the things that we focused on when we were studying that text. So, and then I did essay plans again. So explain how one text manipulates the conventions of genre for a particular purpose and context. So then I can like go back and look at purpose and context. Oh, I didn't write anything down for context. I still to this day do not understand context in regards to English. Like the way they were trying to look at context, I do not get. So I just, yeah. But I tried to like, because heaps of questions were coming up about context, so I tried to do an essay plan about context. And then here's another essay plan here for Blue. There's another essay plan that obviously I didn't really do. And here's just some rough kind of notes on perspectives or something. I don't know. Okay, now we move on to The Girl with All the Gifts. So this was the third, or well, technically the fourth, but the third main text that we studied. And so I wrote notes on perspectives, and there's the different perspectives, then ideas, and those are the different ideas. What does that say? That's an idea. Okay, and then I did heaps and heaps of essay plans. So there's like, I've highlighted the essay question in yellow, and then see, this is what I'm going to talk about in paragraph 1, 2, 3, and I've got the examples that I'm going to use and how I'm going to explain the examples. And turning the page, that's another essay plan. And then this was like my introduction. You know how in your introduction you have to kind of do a quick nutshell summary of what the text is about. So that is my nutshell summary there. For all of my texts, I wrote and memorized the nutshell just because it's the same for whatever essay you do. So you might as well just construct it and memorize it before the exam, so then you can just like quickly scribble it down in the exam, because it's like exactly the same. Obviously, like the plot of the book isn't going to change depending on what question you do. So that is definitely something I would recommend doing just to save you time in an exam. And then here I talked about how blue manipulated generic conventions, style. Now, I don't even know. I was just kind of like, oh, and empathy. These are just like the kind of main topics that came up in Unit 3 and 4, like these different things, and I just kind of, you know, wrote notes on them. It's kind of hard to explain, but my English notes, it was very dependent on like the main kind of important things in the syllabus, and just kind of trying to relate each text that I studied to those main syllabus dot points. Okay, we are almost about to get to my really exciting mind maps. My mind maps are, I love these mind maps so much. We're gonna get to them soon. Okay, so there's just more notes, and this was me comparing the girl with all the gifts and blue, because like if I had to do a comparison between those two in the exam. Okay, here we have my mind maps. So for each of the 3 main texts that I studied, I made a mind map, like kind of just summarizing everything. Okay, so this is the one for American animals. So here is my nutshell statement for American animals. My voice has gone strange. So yeah, there is my nutshell statement for American animals, and then each branching off is just like a different thing that I could talk about. So I could talk about perspectives, themes or ideas, how it manipulates feature film conventions, or how it like does or doesn't manipulate heist generic conventions. And then for each of them I've got at least 3 different examples, and I'm explaining how I'm going to use the example, and I've highlighted all the quotes in yellow, so those are obviously part of my examples because quotes are examples. Okay, here is my big, oh, did I not do one for blue? Oh, I didn't. Okay, so, oh yes, okay, this, I remember now. So I chose 2 texts to focus on for my exam, and they were American Animals and The Girl with All the Gifts. So I just did big mind maps for those 2. So here's my one for The Girl with All the Gifts. It's a bit more jam-packed because this was the main text I was focusing on, and this is the only one I ended up writing about in the exam. So there it is, my mind map for The Girl with All the Gifts, and you can see my nutshell paragraph. And then I had one going like out to empathy, voice and perspectives, assumptions and values, themes and ideas. What does that say? Generic conventions, purpose, meaning, and response. So those are some of the biggest syllabus points, and I just wrote about like how The Girl with All the Gifts relates to each of them, and I've got like different examples that I can use and how I'm going to explain those examples. Then for The Girl with All the Gifts, because it was the main text I was focusing on and the one that I was expecting to write on, which I did end up writing on, I took the main syllabus dot points, so this one was like themes, ideas, issues and concepts, and I kind of wrote in more detail about The Girl with All the Gifts in relation to that syllabus like idea thing. So yeah, you can see that I've done that there, and I've highlighted my examples, and then I've got how I'm going to explain those examples underneath, and then I did exactly the same thing. So here's for empathy, context and controversy, and then I've got purpose and my response there as well. And this one here is for assumptions, values and attitudes. And so this was kind of just like expanding upon all of those different syllabus dot points, so that any question that they asked, I would be able to relate it back to Girl with All the Gifts. And here is some more. So this is about a genre, and this is about voice, perspective and narrative point of view. So I just tried to cover off the whole syllabus to ensure that any question that they asked, I could write about The Girl with All the Gifts. And that is the end. And then we move on to, so here at the back, I'm not going to show you, but this is my composing planning. Basically what I did is I wrote 2 very different pieces of writing. So one was a short story and one was a blog post, and I completely memorized them both word for word. And then whichever question I got in the composing section of the exam, I would write one of them. I would twist my piece or kind of twist the question to make it fit. And I made sure the pieces both were kind of quite broad and could cover a range of questions that were likely to come up. And it worked really well. Like, it worked in every single exam. I wrote one of those two pieces of writing, and in any like composing test that we had in class, I wrote one of those two pieces of writing, and it worked every time. Like, I could always twist my piece to make it fit the question. And while I know English teachers would get so mad at me for recommending that you do this, I think it's like a fine way to go. I don't know, I'm reasonably okay at creative writing, but I just think it takes off the pressure if you have already pieces memorized in your head. And I'm very good at memorizing things, so I literally, like, I memorized two quite long pieces of writing, but at least to have an idea of what you're going to write and to have written it before, so you can kind of follow a similar structure in your exam. And if the worst came to the worst and I couldn't fit either of my pieces to any of the questions, I would have just, you know, come up with a new piece of writing and wrote it in the exam. But it just comforted me a little bit to know that I had two pieces of writing in my brain that I could just kind of regurgitate in the exam. And it also meant I didn't have to spend as much time on the composing section, because I can write very, very fast as well. I'm a very fast writer, so I could just smash one of them out in 40 minutes because I didn't have to think about it or plan hardly at all. I would just like write it out. So yeah, those are just there. I just printed them out, or one of them I hand wrote and one of them I printed out, and they're just sitting there. I'm not going to show them to you because I don't want people to kind of like copy them because, you know, I wrote them, and if I show them to you, you could literally copy them word for word. But yeah, those are at the back just in case I needed to look at them and, you know, try and remember them. Okay, so those are my English notes. I feel like I've rambled a lot in this video, so it's a while since I've filmed kind of videos about school, so I'm a little bit rusty talking about it, but I am going to film more advice for ATAR. For all of the subjects that I did, I'm going to film more kind of general advice and also subject-specific advice videos. Oh, I should also mention I am selling copies of my notes. So I'm selling copies of these English notes and also copies of my notes for economics, chemistry, maths methods, and maths specialist. So if you would like information about how you can purchase copies of these notes, then DM me on Instagram at tia.chitty. I've had quite a few, well, like, how many people? 5, I think. 5 people DM me already asking to purchase copies, so you can. I'm really, like, happy if you want to buy copies of these notes, but I do think that kind of the process that you go through when you write your own notes is also important. But if you want my notes as well for a little bit of extra kind of reference and help, then yeah, they're available to purchase copies of them. So yeah, thanks so much for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel down below for more videos like this one. I have 106 videos on my channel, I think. I counted the other day. So yeah, over 100 videos, and lots of them are on note-taking and advice for ATAR and school and just like revision and study in general. So yeah, go check some of them out if you would like to. But yeah, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!